Well, good day to you. It is December the 15th. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. My name is Gary Willing, and as always, I want to welcome you to Search for Science. And as I always like to do, point out to those people who are new, perhaps remind those people who've heard these videos before and haven't done it yet. But if you want to know more about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, if you want to know more about the Masters of Wisdom, why they're here, the priorities of the teacher, those kind of things, if in fact, after listening to this video, because I want to be mainly talking about UFOs, if you want perhaps a different perspective on UFOs and why they're here, what they mean for humanity too, check out some of the links in the description portion of these videos. Okay, now the two that I would recommend after listening to this particular video, if you want to know more about UFOs, would be the Share International link at the very top. Also, there is a link somewhere in the description portion of this video that will take you to the George Adamski Foundation. And you can get some really good, I think, a very different perspective on UFOs, but a very good perspective on UFOs based on those two gentlemen, Benjamin Creme and George Adamski's contacts with these, what they call space brothers. So hopefully you'll check it out. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit of hope. Now, this particular video is probably the first of its kind for me to put up because this is really an emergency video based on news updates and news articles that are going on over the past few days about drone activity over New Jersey and New York and other parts of this country. Now, I'm just going to say this real quick. I don't know what they are. I'm trying to keep an open mind about it. Hopefully you are as well. Some people think they're man-made, of course. Other people think they're UFOs. I honestly do not know. Now, here's what I want to talk about and why I wanted to talk about it at this time. And is because of the verbiage that the White House is using when they're being asked questions about drones, and the Pentagon is using the same verbiage. They're saying, we don't know where they are coming from. We don't know why they're here. We just know they pose no threat. Now, if you look at some videos over the past, let's say 5 years, about UFOs, when asked, they say the same thing. Governments around the world are not denying their existence anymore, right? Because people have video cameras and they have phones with video cameras and they also have phones with cameras in them. So we're all taking pictures. People are taking pictures all the time of mysterious lights in the sky. So much so that governments can't deny their existence anymore like they did for decades. So for decades, they just said they were weather balloons. My favorite excuse was it was swamp gas. But now they're becoming so mainstream, these videos, that governments can't deny it anymore. Now, what they're saying is they're saying the exact same thing they're saying about these drones over New Jersey. They don't know where they're coming from. They don't know what they are. They don't know why they're here. They just know they pose no threat. So if they were coming from another country, like Iran or something to that effect, or Russia or China, I think the military would have a really good idea that they were coming from those countries and shoot them down and have no problem shooting them down, and then have no problem telling us that they came from these other countries, and really they're declaring acts of war against us, right? Now, where I don't think they are UFOs is because of the fact that they're centered around New Jersey and not all over the world. And also, some people have said they're very loud and they create a lot of noise. So, but they're very large, much larger than a regular drone. So, are they UFOs? Are they regular drones? Are they coming from another country? I'm just like the government. I have no idea where they came from. I have no idea why they're here. Now, I don't know whether they pose a security threat or a threat to the civilian population. I have no clue about that either. Now, when it comes to UFOs, and this is what I wanted to say about this. This is what I know about UFOs. The perspective of UFOs that people have, for the most part, is incorrect. Most people who have an idea about UFOs or believe in UFOs on some level, have seen videos of UFOs and are quite intrigued by them. 99.9% of the people think they are coming from another solar system or another dimension, when in fact the masters will tell you that they're not coming from another solar system, they're not coming from another dimension, they're coming from our own sister planets in our own solar system, mainly from Mars and Venus, but also from Jupiter and Saturn as well. Now, if you went to Mars, you went to Venus, you went to Saturn or Jupiter, you would see no people there because you probably don't have what's called etheric vision. because these humanity on these planets that are relatively close to our own planet are living on the 4 levels of what are called the etheric planes, which is slightly above gas. Now, scientists would say that we just have 3 levels of physicality, right? Solid, liquid, and gas. But according to the masters, there are 4 levels of physicality above gas that they refer to as the etheric. It was actually proven scientifically by Wilhelm Reich. You can look him up, you can Google him and those kind of things. He referred to it as the orgon. He saw it as one plane of existence above gas, proved it scientifically. It's a wonderful, extraordinary, amazing, I don't know any other adjectives I can use to describe this scientific discovery, but very much unknown, because it's not taught in school. But he stumbled across a level of physicality that most scientists don't even realize exist, called the orgon, or the etheric. That's where these humanity, according to the masters, that's where this humanity coming from Mars, coming from Venus, are actually living on. So if you had etheric vision and you went to Mars, you would see that there are actually more people on Mars than there are even on our planet. Technologically, Venus and Mars, they're much more advanced than we are spiritually, and knowing the laws of life, far more advanced than we are here on a spiritual mission. Eventually, we'll have proof and absolute proof and evidence of their existence, that they are real and those kind of things. But up until that point, we just have what we see in the skies, the UFOs flying around from time to time. They show themselves from time to time, and then they disappear, and we either can take a picture of it or video if we're quick enough, or not. But why are they here? According to the masters, they're here on a spiritual mission. Mainly, they are here for 2 reasons. One, to kind of gently wake humanity up to the fact that we are not alone in the universe, because we have always believed that we were alone in the universe, right? To now we're starting to realize that we may be or may not be alone. So we're starting to ask that question. Mainstream people, on the main street of USA and Europe and other countries and so forth, people are starting to ask that question: are we alone in the universe? For eons, it was, we are alone in the universe. Now we're starting to go, are we alone in the universe? And other people are saying, no, we're not. You can see evidence of them in the sky. They're there, right? And the other reason why they're here is, and this is the main reason why we're seeing them in such droves now, is because they are here cleaning up our atmosphere, because the pollution that we're emitting is so toxic, so harmful, so dangerous, that it's literally killing off humanity. And if it wasn't for the work and activity of these space brothers cleaning up our own environment, we would be nearly dead. This is coming from the masters. This is what the masters would say why they're here. So the reason why, if you do a lot of study about UFOs, you'll see a lot of reports from coming out of the military, that they're around military bases, they are in and around nuclear-powered naval vessels and so forth. The reason why they're doing that is because of the way that we process, store, and eventually discard nuclear material. So when you have a nuclear silo with a missile in it, and it's just sitting in the ground, it is emitting so much toxic radiation that if it wasn't for these UFOs coming up from time to time and mopping up the area, it would really be inhabitable. And it's very dangerous. Now, most scientists would say, no, it's safe. See, when you put a Geiger counter up to a nuclear silo or a nuclear missile or whatever, or a containment that's storing nuclear waste. See, there's nothing moving in the Geiger counter. It's lead, concrete, nothing's getting through that sucker. Well, according to the masters, the radiation from nuclear power, or nuclear waste, or just nuclear material, let me put it like that, and the way that we process nuclear power, is so light and so fine that it goes right through the lead, right through the concrete, and goes right out into the atmosphere, and is not measured by a device that only measures radiation on the solid, liquid, and gaseous states, because the radiation is on the etheric planes. And it's so light and so fine, it goes right up into the higher atmosphere, so literally every droplet of rain is saturated with nuclear waste. Even if you had all your windows closed in your house barely open your door. There's so much nuclear pollution in our homes that it is really a testament to our own immune system why we're still here, according to the masters. But these space brothers are working tirelessly day and night, and have for decades, to keep the environment clean enough to where we can live, to where we learn not to process nuclear power in that way. And one of the, I talk about the priorities of Maitreya with the principle of sharing, but the first thing that he is going to tackle when he's out known for who he is after the day of declaration is he is going to strongly urge our world leaders to shut down all our nuclear power plants immediately and stop processing power in that way. We can still use the same power plants, just as we have to do a different way of processing the nuclear power, and then it won't be toxic nuclear waste as a byproduct. It would be clean drinking water as a byproduct, and totally safe. And it's a clean way and a cool way of processing nuclear power in that way. Now, like I said, up until that point, these UFOs are flying in the sky. So if these drones end up being man-made and from another country that are here spying on us, it still does not take anything away from the fact that UFOs are real and they exist, because more and more evidence is coming out that they are real. Now, Donald Trump's getting a second chance at being president. The last time he was president, I remember reading an article online from several different mainstream news sources that the Pentagon and high-level members of the Pentagon were briefing members of Congress, certain members of Congress, and the president himself, which was Donald Trump at the time, about UFO activity. Now, they didn't say that the article didn't come out and say that the government's now saying that UFOs are real, but they did confirm that they were having these meetings with Congress and with the president. And I've always posed this question for everyone to think about. Would anyone in politics or in a bureaucracy like the United States government, where it's all about perception and politics and moving up the organizational ladder, would anybody jeopardize their own career, jeopardize their reputation, and brief Congress and the president about something that they knew wasn't true? There would be no way. There's no way that anyone would do something that stupid. So they know that they're real. They're just starting to let the cat out of the bag a little bit by little bit by little bit. But if you were to go across the Atlantic Ocean to the UK, they are now saying the exact same thing that the United States government is saying about these drones. They don't know where they came from. They don't know why they're here, but they know they pose no threat, which is the exact same word that they're using about these drones. So like I said, I'm swing back around and say, I don't know what they are. I just know that UFOs are real. They are here. And I'm trying to also give you a hopeful message about UFOs. So if you start hearing people talking about how we're about to be taken over by aliens, there is absolutely no truth to it. And then the other question I would ask you is, if they were here to take us over, why are they taking us over now in 2024, nearly 2025, when they could have taken us over hundreds of years ago? Because there's been reports of UFOs for really centuries. So they would have done it a long time ago, I think, if they were really here in a nefarious way to take us over. Now, I also want to end this video about UFOs to share with you one of the experiences that I had with UFOs back in 2009. I was on my way to see my brother in Charlotte and spend the 4th of July with him. And I was about halfway between Atlanta and Charlotte, and I mentally asked Maitreya if he could possibly ask one of the Space Brothers to show for my family. I don't know why I asked that question. I don't particularly make those kind of requests of Maitreya or Space Brothers. It just kind of mentally just kind of came out, right? I didn't say it out loud. It just kind of, I was thinking it and it just kind of came through my mind, right? And then I felt bad about asking because I know that the Space Brothers are busy and so is Maitreya. So I said, don't worry about it. I'm sorry. I didn't even mean to think it like that. Anyway, so I forgot all about it. Made it to Charlotte. The next day was the 4th of July. We spend the whole day on the 4th of July. We're eating out, we're talking, doing family stuff. And then we're about to go shoot fireworks around 8 o'clock-ish at night. And in the summertime in the South, 8 o'clock, 8:30, it's starting to get kind of dark, but it's not really dark. And that's kind of the time that it was. And we're all out in the front yard of my brother, kind of in his street, in his neighborhood, on the driveway. And there's probably about 20 of us or 30 of us kids around there and that kind of stuff. And we're shooting these little fireworks off that are going about 2 or 3 feet in the air, literally, because it's not in Charlotte, or in North Carolina, I guess, at the time at least, it was against the law to shoot off real fireworks. You could only get the stuff that you could get at like Trader Joe's or a Publix or, some little grocery store or something like that. Now, it doesn't mean that people weren't shooting off the big guns, but, for the most part, the people in my brother's neighborhood were just shooting off these little things. And I know that we were just shooting off little guys that would go up about 3 or 4 feet in the air and make a little noise and a light and then fall right to the ground. And that was about as exciting as the fireworks were at my brother's house that day. So we're shooting off these fireworks. Again, I had forgotten all about my request to Maitreya. And my brother's neighbor, who I had never met before and I really haven't seen since that I remember because he's moved away, looked up at the sky and used these exact words. "What the fuck is that?" He said it right in front of all the kids, right, and very loudly. And I didn't look up yet because I was still looking down at the ground at the fireworks that were going off. And he goes, "What the fuck is that?" And he goes, "Ron, that's a UFO." And I remember I closed my eyes. I didn't look up. And I started kind of shaking my head from side to side like, no, that can't be. And he goes, "Ron, that's a UFO." And my brother's name is Ron. And he goes, and I said, my brother looks up at the sky and goes, "Huh." And then my little nephew, who's now an adult, but at the time he was little, looks up and goes, "Daddy, that's a UFO." And then my brother, in his infinite wisdom, said, "UFOs don't exist, James. And that looks like it might be a plane with its light out or something like that." And then I remember James said, "Yeah, UFOs don't exist." And my brother's neighbor goes, "Ron, that's a UFO, man. I don't know what you're talking about." He was the one that was arguing with my brother. I didn't say anything to my brother about it. I didn't confirm nor deny that it was a UFO. I just remember then when I finally looked up, it looked like a candle flame in the sky. And it was very, 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 very red with this white circle in the middle bottom part of whatever this was. And it was moving slowly and silently over my brother's house. And I followed it. Like I said, I didn't tell my brother about my request to Maitreya. I didn't say anything to my family about it. I didn't even say that it was a UFO or not. I was just going to let them kind of believe it for themselves or not or whatever. So I went around my brother's house by myself. Nobody followed me. And this thing went over my brother's house, over the golf course behind his house, and then the flame disappeared. It was just this white circle, and then it just slowly dissipated and disappeared. And I asked Benjamin Creme about it at the time, and he said it was a UFO from Mars. So these things are everywhere. Now, also, I was going to say too, a few weeks ago, before all this stuff about drones came on the scene, I've been seeing a bright star in the sky. And I have this app, and I recommend downloading this free app. It's called Night Sky, I think is what it's called. And you can see all the constellations and the stars. And it even now has Starlink in there. So if it's a satellite and you think it's a UFO, it's going to show up as Starlink. Well, anyway, I've been flashing it up there to see. And a couple times it was Saturn, but other times there's nothing in the sky on this app. It's just a bunch of far off stars, but there's a big bright star that's been showing up in the sky. Is that a UFO? Is this also an indication, kind of how it was back in 2010 about the star of Maitreya that lasted for nearly a year? I don't know. But all these things, from the Norwegian spiral to the spiral over the Pacific not too long ago, to all these reports coming out from governments, to this, I think one could ask themselves and come up with the conclusion that there's something strange going on. Something strange going on. But whether the UFOs or not, I honestly don't know. I love you guys. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Talk to you real soon. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.